Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. I have been traveling around the UK, sharing the knowledge of the skills I learnt as a hostage and crisis negotiator with a variety of people over the last few weeks. And one of the conversations that really struck me yesterday, I was at a LMC, which is working with GP practice managers, and talking about how we can have difficult conversations, how we can manage change, and how we can manage conflict, and especially ourselves during that time. And one of the questions I was asked was this. We recently had a young person who was in the surgery threatening suicide, and none of us trained, and we weren't sure what to do or how to help the young person in the best way. What do you suggest? And it's a great question, because this could happen to any of us at any stage. It could be a friend of yours, it could be a family member, it could be somebody you come across in the street, it could be in your work environment. I've worked in lots of organisations where we've had this, because suicide affects a lot of people. There are some very scary statistics out at the moment about suiciding young people as well, especially, and how many young people are suffering from anxiety and mental health for a variety of reasons. So I thought it would be a good topic to cover with you today. Now, there are lots of episodes within the Let's Talk About podcast, especially around Let's Talk About Suicide podcasts, with other negotiators and other people who have special expertise in this area. I'm going to share with you something called OARS around listening. OARS is an acronym for how we show somebody that we are listening to them and how we can build that relationship in really challenging circumstances. The first thing I'd like to emphasize, and I know this has been covered before, but I think it's good to go back over it again and again to really help people to understand this, that the word suicide is not something to be frightened of. It's something to talk about. Even as a trainer, the director of UK training around suicide, lots of police officers who are becoming negotiators ask me the same question: should I talk about suicide? And if I'm honest with you, before I got to know more about the subject and become more involved in the world of negotiation, I probably wasn't sure myself. So let me reassure you that research shows it's good to mention the word suicide, especially when somebody is saying things like, I don't know if I can go on, I can't face it anymore, I don't know how to face a future, I haven't got a future. They are small hints that that person might be feeling that they are suicidal, or might be leading to somebody looking to take their own life. And we can use that directness because it doesn't put the thought in the head. That the thought will already be there. What it does is allow a safe space for somebody to then talk about that. So that's the first thing I just want to cover and make sure that everybody appreciates that. And that's just not police training. That's not just hostage and crisis negotiation training. I've worked with the charity Shout, doing some voluntary work. They do the same training. I work with a lady called Professor Liz Stokoe. She does the same around crisis management and the words that we use and how important they are. Also, the Samaritans do this training as well. This is something that has come from years and years ago. We haven't just made it up in the 2026. It's been around for years. All of the things that we use around child psychology and psychology have been discovered before, probably all the way back to Socrates, and if not before then. So don't be afraid to use the word suicide. It can feel uncomfortable, it can feel awkward, and you might now be saying, well, actually, Nick, what if they're not? Great, they'll tell you, no, I don't. That's not how I'm thinking, that's not how I'm feeling. Or they might say something along the lines of, actually, that thought has crossed my mind. That was a while ago, and I've managed to move forward from that. but it allows us to open the discussion and not be afraid of having the conversation. So let's go on to OARS. OARS is an acronym. It comes from motivational interviewing. It helps us to just keep something in mind when we're in times of stress. So OARS, if you can remember this, it will help you to de-escalate conflict, and it will help you to start the conversation with somebody who looks like they are suicidal, or is saying I am suicidal, or is mentioning things like I don't want to be here anymore. So first of all, we can say, are you feeling suicidal? So let's open that and address that. And then we look at the risk. Of course, you'll always be looking at risk, like, do they have a plan for it? Do they have the means to do it? Do we need to get somebody else involved? The other thing I would say to you is always be safe. Please always go home at the end of the day, because you are super important. So let's look at OARS. So the O is for open questions. Open questions are what, why, who, when, how, and where. And when we are talking about why, some of us have a bit more of an authoritative, put my teeth in, a bit more of an authoritarian tone. And if you are aware of that, be mindful of why, because it can sound like a parent-child conversation. What we want to do is have an adult-to-adult conversation. Because I don't know about you, if somebody talks to me like I'm a child, they're more likely to get a childish response. So we want the adult-to-adult conversation. So just be mindful of why. And those open questions are designed to elicit more than a yes and no answer. So when we ask them, what we're looking to do is get more information, because most conversations we have are at the tip of the iceberg, and we want to get to the heart of the iceberg when someone is in crisis, to help them and find out what is really going on, because they are probably only telling you a little bit of what's happening. And that's the clue, those words that they're saying, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm really struggling, finding life very challenging, whatever those words might be. That's the tip of the iceberg. We want to get to the heart of it. And those open questions help us to get to the heart of the matter. Now, the other thing we know about questions is when the human brain is asked a question, we have to answer it. So be really mindful about the questions that you ask, and make sure that they are about the other person and not about you. Within the O for open questions, we have something called TED. Tell me, explain to me, and describe to me. And for those of you that follow me, you will know that I love tell me. This comes from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and he said that this is one of the best de-escalation sentences that you can use, because it shows the other person you are listening from a perspective of curiosity and understanding, rather than from, I want to ask a question, I want to give you an opinion. And I often say to leaders this: ask a question before you give your opinion. Because often people in crisis, or people that are having a tough time, or people are looking at things in a different light, they don't want you to solve their problem for you. They just want to be listened to, and they would like to talk more openly to you. And especially in the world of suicide intervention and crisis intervention, we use that. Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me what's going on behind that sentence. Tell me what's making you feel that way. And that allows the other person to just have the space to continue. The other one is explain and describe. And if you put the word exactly in, that will also help to hone the mind. So you can say something like, describe exactly what that is. Then we have A. Now, you don't have to go open questions ARS. This is, you can use them in any order. Sometimes people see the acronym and think, oh, I must use OARS, and it's not like that. It's just language to help you to have those conversations and to open up somebody else and find out what's really going on for them. So A is for affirmations and validation. So affirmations and validation is where we affirm what somebody might be thinking and feeling, and we validate that it's okay to think and feel that way. So somebody might be telling us their story of why they're feeling the way that they're feeling at the moment. And rather than say, oh, it'll be better tomorrow, or there's plenty more fish in the sea, or time's a great healer, we go, yeah, it's understandable you would feel that way. And that helps that person to recognize it's okay to be feeling what they're feeling right here, right now. Then we have R, which is reflective language. I always say what you see and say what you hear. Imagine you are the big mirror standing in front of somebody else and you're just reflecting back what you're saying and hearing. And again, this allows the human brain to go, oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking and feeling. Let's explore that a little bit and find out what is causing that and why we're thinking and feeling that way. And we keep it about the other person, we don't make it about us. You can just do little things like, oh, I just noticed when I said this, you frowned, and I wondered why you frowned, or I wondered what caused the frown. And they might explain a little bit more. They might say, oh, I didn't know I frowned, or they might say, I didn't understand what you were saying, whatever it might be. But you seek that clarity and that understanding, and it builds a really good relationship, and it helps us to get to the heart of the iceberg rather than the tip of the iceberg. And then lastly, we have S, which is for summary. And I'm also going to add silence in there. Silence is incredibly powerful. As human beings, we like to talk and fill the silence, let the other person talk and fill the silence. I had the privilege of working with hearers from Croydon, and one of their leaders explained this to me, that sometimes when you're talking to a person in crisis, they just want you to be there with them. You can give them space. You don't have to fill the space. And sometimes we just say, look, I'm still here. Shall we just sit in silence together? And silence is so powerful, just that presence of having another person there. And it allows the space for somebody to just think and feel into where they're at and what they're thinking and feeling and why they're thinking and feeling it as well. And the other S part of that is summary. So we can use summaries to really help somebody just reflect back, but also make sure we are understanding what they're saying. One of the biggest breakdowns in communication is the fact that we think we've interpreted what the other person's saying, or we think that the other person has interpreted what we're saying based on what we think we're saying in the first place. I know it's so complex, but summaries are key. And of course, the active listening that goes with that. The active listening where you're fully present, you're fully focused, you're not judging and not trying to solve. You're not fearful of what question I have to ask next. You're just there present with somebody. And it is a skill and it takes practice. And when we share these skills more with each other, when we teach each other how to listen, how to communicate with another person, especially another person who is in crisis. And it's funny because I always tell the story when I left policing. Honestly, this went through my head and I look back and laugh at it now. But when I first left policing, I was like, well, who am I going to talk to that's in crisis now? We all have a crisis. We're all in crisis at some stage, even if it's just, you've received an email from somebody and you're finding it a challenge to communicate with that person. You've lost your keys. Your car is breaking down and you need your car. Your parents need more care. Your young people are leaving home. We're all in a little crisis every single day. You think about just every single day life. I was in my crisis. If you get my Friday emails, if you don't get my Friday emails, then please just go to my website and click as a subscriber, and I'll send you an email every Friday that just talks about some of the things I've experienced during the week and some of the lessons I've learnt. But in my Friday email, I talk about taking my blood pressure this week, and I hadn't read the instructions and I did it wrong. So it's completely my fault. But I got a reading of high amber, and I'm like, hang on a sec, how is this possibly right? And it sent me into apoplexy. And in my own little mini crisis world of, well, that can't be right, I'm fit and healthy. My dad had heart problems. Does that mean I'm going to have heart problems? My granddad had heart problems. Does that mean I'm going to have heart problems? Do I need to find the doctor? And all these things that start to interfere with my logical thought process. I hope you found that useful. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to step into the conversation. Don't be afraid to get it wrong. Because if you get it right, you might just save a life. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. If you have in any way been affected by today's podcast episode, there are numbers at the end of the transcript which you can contact. We'd like to thank you all for listening. And if you'd like to join our Facebook group, There is also a link to that in the notes that go with this podcast. Have a great day.